It's time to shine a light into the shadows. Our shadow parts are the parts of ourselves that we hide from the world and that we deny are even there. These are the parts that we learned didn't serve to help us survive or that we believed were shameful. The shadow parts developed to protect us from psychological and physical threats. Without these parts, we cannot be our authentic selves, but a divided facsimile of what we think we should be. There are many nuances to the parts that make up our authentic selves, and to achieve liberation, all our parts need to be set free. There are parts of ourselves we are proud to show the world, our acceptable aspirations, accomplishments, and strengths. We want people to hear our overcomer stories. The person we want other people to see, we show and share freely. Sometimes these parts are more aspirational than true. What we actually show is what we think other people want to see. We show them the bright side of ourselves while hiding other aspects in the shadows. We hide the resentment we don't want to admit, fear we don't want anyone to see, desires that make us uncomfortable, disappointment we carry, choices we regret, thoughts we don't like. We also tend to hide joyful parts that we believe are unacceptable, embarrassing desires, goals, and dreams that outside sources have made us believe are unachievable or silly or even want. To avoid shame, embarrassment, humiliation, and ridicule, we hide these parts of ourselves into our deepest shadows and often forget they even exist. Thus, the hardest person to be completely honest with is ourselves. That's where step 4 begins. We commit to the fearless examination of ourselves, what we reveal and what we keep hidden, our strengths and weaknesses, our desires and disappointments, our accomplishments and resentments, and our ideas and fears. We shine a bright light into the shadow places and see what they reveal. This step is not a moral inventory. It's not about finding character defects or shortcomings. With this step, we begin a deeper, inner exploration of all our parts to bring them into the light with compassion and curiosity. A paraphrased quote of Carl Jung states, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Our shadow parts have directed our lives, kept us stagnant, and continues to drive us to destruction. We've called it bad luck, fate, the universe, or the divine's will. This step is not to condemn or judge ourselves for past behaviors or mistakes. We're not trying to create another identity built around everything we've done wrong. We just need to look, to see, to tell the truth. We're looking for revelation, insight, and awareness. There's no need for commentary, excuses, or punishment, just the truth. Seeing ourselves honestly is liberation. We cannot intentionally embrace, change, or repair what we refuse to see. Walking through a dark room, you might know where things are around you, but you don't know exactly where they are. You move cautiously. You bump into things and react to things you can't see, even though you feel them somehow. Then the light comes on and illuminates the space. The room hasn't changed. Your relationship to the room has changed. That's what step 4 is asking us to do inside ourselves. Shine a bright light into the places we've kept hidden. Looking at our shadow parts doesn't have to be scary or unnerving, especially if we approach it with curiosity rather than trepidation. We start by accepting that we're not always the person we believed ourselves to be. But honestly, we probably already knew that. There's often resentment underneath anger, resentment that builds up over a long period of time, but we say we're fine, no problem. We feel fear often of responsibility or loss, and more often we're afraid of success, not failure. Success means we have more expectation, more responsibility, and it exposes our insecurities of being seen, known, and discovered for the fraud that we are. We feel the need to control our circumstances or our narrative, but we would rather outsource our control to the external because control is too much responsibility, so we blame others. Responsibility means if something goes wrong, we are ridiculed, ashamed, and embarrassed, if not fully guilty of causing distress or pain in others. We desperately want to connect. We feel lonely, but then actively isolate ourselves. Often we criticize others because we've hidden insecurities about ourselves. We make fun of people who are doing what we want to be doing. We have strengths we never recognize. We have courage, compassion, creativity, persistence, and the ability to love. We have the capacity to change. Step 4 asks us to look at all of it. If we aren't succeeded in our goals, it's often the result of our shadow parts. Consider that whatever we want out of life, there is an opposite part that does not want it and will sabotage us from getting there. We have to be willing to see the whole picture. We realize the power of liberation when we see things as they are, not as we wish they would be. Temporarily set the commentary aside and think about your life, what you want, and how you want to proceed. What is actually happening? What do you actually feel? What do you actually do to move in the direction you want to go? What are you actually afraid of? What do you actually want? How do you plan to move in that direction? We can only make wise decisions from reality. The person you discover when you look honestly at your life is not a permanent sentence. We're not trying to banish the shadow parts, only to bring them into the light. The shadow parts exist to protect us. They don't know they're hurting us. There is tension between the shadow and the light, but we can learn to live in the space between the two. We can learn to pay mindful and compassionate attention to the shadow. Thank it for the work it does and reassure it that we are okay. Our goal is integration of the shadow and the light. To bring them together will make us whole and complete. Even the parts of ourselves we've struggled to accept can become part of our authentic selves. Shining a light into the shadows is about courage with compassion. We may not always like what we find initially, but we can learn to accept it as it is. The truth is often inconvenient, but hiding from the truth has a cost too. And there's something deeply freeing about finally being able to say, "This is me, all of me." The authentic self emerges. It reveals what was always there. We shine a bright light into the shadowy places, not because we hate what we'll find there, but because we are finally ready to know ourselves.